just to tell you, sir, you were commissioned in 1976, 15 December. That is 3 days after I was born, sir. So that is the authority you carry, sir. So
Okay.
I was born on 12 December and you were commissioned on 15 December, if I remember.
Okay. Yeah. So,
That
so we have something in common, right?
right, sir. Uh, Sir, so it's very casual interview, sir. I mean, it's just a junior interviewing a senior, sir. That's as simple as that, sir. Uh, so what influenced you to join the armed forces, sir, and that to the army? That's my first question, sir.
So Bijay, right? I was born into an army family. My father was also in the army. He was commissioned during the Second World War. So from the time that you are born, all you are seeing is military life, what the cantonments are, uh, how the military sort of operates. My elder brother also joined the army before me. So frankly, when it was my turn to choose the career, there really was no dilemma, whether this or that. It was, look, you belong to an army family, so you will join the army. So after I finished my schooling from St. Columbus in New Delhi, I joined Hindu College for about 6 months, and then of course gave the NDA exam and got through. And I was probably 16 years and maybe 1 or 2 months when I put on the uniform for the first time and joined the NDA. So as I said, really there was no question in the mind as to what are the career options for you. So I mean that's the reason why I joined the army, frankly.
So how difficult was those days, sir, your days to join the ND or INA compared to my days to now also? Because I gave NDA, I cleared NDA in 1994, sir. That is 92nd NDA equivalent. But because of a medical thing, I couldn't make it to the final list. And then I went into direct entry again. Not to har nahi manna types. I will wear the uniform type. So how
Uh-huh.
difficult or easy was your time? Because our time it was pretty tough, and I hear that your time it was much tougher compared to today, sir. So how difficult was it?
So Bijay, in our time when I joined, I think the idea was that you take these very young people who are coming, from civilian life, and how do you very, very quickly sort of make them mentally and physically extremely tough and strong. I think that was the idea. So I remember, for example, as first timers, I mean, everybody in India is issued a bicycle, and you're supposed to compulsorily take these bicycles for classes when you go. But I know the first few weeks you were not riding the bicycle. I mean, the bicycle was riding you. You were
Right,
you
sir.
had to sling the bicycle around your shoulders and carry it and run with it, up and down for all your classes. First timers, for example, after every movie, and you had to see movies. There were nice movies which used to come. I mean, it was routine that you would front roll from the movie hall to the
That's
to
it.
the cadets to the cadetsmen. So there wasn't so much focus on academics at that time. So as I said, it was just a physical and sort of mental conditioning that cadets were put through. Now I'm told there is a much greater focus on academics. So a large majority, particularly I think everybody who goes to the Navy is a BTech
True.
graduate
Yes, sir.
when
Yes,
he
sir.
comes out of the NDA. And I think in some ways it is right because warfare is changing. You need to keep yourself adept with knowledge and technology, etc. And so that focus is slightly shifted. But I think the basic character of NDA, that is to take young people from the CV street uh, and get them halfway to becoming officers, and that kind of mental conditioning. I think that character of the NDA is probably going to remain the same.
That's right, sir. That's right. In fact, sir, each one of us have a memory of our academy days, sir. Whether it's NDA, so we always say irrespective of our seniority, irrespective of the rank we achieve, we are still a cadet at heart. We remember all those things. So during your NDA days, sir, the 3 years you spent, I'm sure hundreds and hundreds of memories. But as a cadet, cadet Hooda, what would be the most favorable memories, sir? I'm sure hundreds of memories. One some fun memories.
I lost you. I lost your sound in between, Bijay.
Okay.
Yeah.
As we rightly say, sir, uh, each one of us, irrespective of whatever rank we achieve and whatever seniority age, our memories or academy are always beautiful, sir. So I'm sure a lot of memories for you, hundreds of memories for you. So as a cadet, Hooda, what would you remember the most, sir?
So as you said, there are there are hundreds of memories. Most of the memories are around the punishments that you would get.
Yes, sir.
That's those single marches, restrictions, getting caught doing something wrong, and then getting marched up to your squadron commanders, etc. So as I said, uh, our dealing with instructors, particularly the drill ustads who used to be there, who would teach us drill. But if you ask me, sort of what is the most enduring characteristic of India life, and I think you mentioned it, the fact that we remain cadets at heart. The sharing so many good moments, tough moments with those friends of yours, and yours. I mean, friends. 50 when we meet, we talk of NDA days and what happened there. So I think the kind of bonding and friendship that develops is something I think is unique to the NDA.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. So I'm sure a lot of postmates would be in touch even today, sir. Like irrespective of
Yes,
where they are today. Right.
absolutely.
So thereafter, sir, once the NDS, how will you as a senior term cadet? So one more question here. As a sixth termer, generally everyone has a memory of a senior. So how was you as a senior, sir, in the sixth term?
Yeah, that is something that you will have to ask the juniors. I don't want to talk about myself. So I initially joined Foxtrot Squadron, and after 4 terms, I then shifted fifth and sixth term, the last 2 terms, uh, to the Kilo Squadron. And Kilo Squadron, all announcements are made in a sing-song voice. So that is something very unique to Kilo Squadron. And in our time, we used to be like, as they say, competing for the last position, Kilo Squadron. Today, I'm told, doing extremely well. So even that in itself, is a great memory of how we went through our 6 terms.
Mhm.
And when we joined, we had the legendary, Admiral Pereira.
Oh,
He was the deputy commandant, and there are so many stories about him.
exactly.
So I think we were also fortunate to have seen such an inspirational figure early in our lives.
Very true, sir. Very true. And even today, sir, like being when I was in Navy and after Navy, he's a revered name even today, sir. The legacy
Absolutely.
continues. The legacy
Absolutely.
And then how was your IMA days, sir? IMA days would have been much easier compared to the NDA.
Yeah, because you had gone through so much training, then you joined the IME during our finals sort of passing out. That was the time when NDA received the colors from the then President Fakhruddin Ahmed. And I was fortunate enough to be the person in the parade who actually carried the colors and received the colors from the president.
That's something very nostalgic, sir. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
So once you were in IMA and you were about to commission in 1976, so was your first choice the Gorkhas, sir?
So my first choice was the infantry.
Okay.
And that time, anybody could get sort of any arm. So I was commissioned into the 4th Gorkhas, and honestly, I think I was very, very extremely fortunate to have joined such a fine regiment.
True, sir. True. And then Gorkhas, whenever you hear the legendary, stories and things about Gorkhas, they are a different lot. That is what we have been always told in the Navy also, sir, that incidentally, one of the ship which I was part of, sir, Kukri and Kirpan. So Kukri had a sister association with the Gorkhas. So
Absolutely, I know.
that's how the legends were told to us about the Gorkhas.
So Bijay, they're extremely simple, but very tough, simple soldiers, honest to the core, extremely, extremely loyal and brave. And really, when you serve with them, you really see why they are considered such great soldiers around the world. I mean, they're there in Brunei, they're there in the British Army also. I think one of the few sort of nationalities that serve across countries in their military. And they always say that officers acquire the characteristics of their men with whom they serve. And for us in the infantry, I mean, for the first 20 years, I was serving with the troops, with the soldiers. And so when I look at myself also as an individual and see my characteristics, I think a lot of it is reflected in what the Gorkhas were, how they behaved, and that's how. So I credit also my own character building to the fact that I was there in the Gorkha regiment.
And later, subsequently, you commanded the force, sir, going forward. So that would have been
Yeah. So yeah, that's really, they say that, and I'm sure that's in the Navy too. I mean, the command of anything, whether it's a ship or a unit, is really some place where your own personality comes across, and it's like a very direct command of soldiers that we have as a battalion commander. And so it was a privilege to lead these men. And it's often said also in the army that a good unit actually takes along its commanding officer to further heights. So a lot of your success is also based on the fact that you've commanded such outstanding soldiers who really, really never sort of let you down.
True, sir. True. So out of, when you were commissioned, sir, and what was the most beautiful posting or the most memorable posting? I'm sure the postings were always tough, but as a young officer, sir, maybe from the rank of lieutenant to till a lieutenant colonel, what was your most memorable posting, sir? Going forward, higher ranks, and that's fine, sir. But at the
So,
junior rank.
Yeah. So frankly, at the junior rank, your most memorable postings are those which are in field areas, because those are the ones that really challenge you. Those are the ones where you very closely live among the soldiers. So my posting in Nagaland, and that time, the road communications, etc., were not good. We were on the Myanmar border posted at that time. We were posted in places where actually all your rations, etc., had to be airdropped because there were no roads connecting these posts. And so you would see these small Dakotas coming, and of course there were no parachutes, so they would just throw atta boris and fruits and sometimes even live animals down at your posts. Sikkim was another sort of very memorable tenure. We were in Nathula. So Nathula today is a trading post, and the Chinese were just literally 5 meters across. Oh yeah, our posts were that close to each other. And of course, that time there was not much tension. So sometimes we would jump across our boundary wall and they would come across their boundary wall. And although you couldn't converse properly, but there used to be a lot of handshaking and photograph taking and things like that. So these were some memorable. Then I was in, as the second in command, I was in Punch. That was for 3 years, from 93 to 96. And that's the time when actually insurgency was just spilling over into the Jammu region. So it had started in Kashmir around 1990. But by 93, 94, 95, as we say, the arc of terrorism was spreading across the Pir Panjal into the Jammu region. And so we saw also those times that were quite challenging and quite difficult on how to deal with these, experiences that were new to us. I mean, the insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir was complex, was completely different from what we had experienced in other areas. So these are some memorable tenures that I've had.
You had the experience of serving both in Kashmir and the East, Northeast, sir. So how different was those experience in terms of earlier when I was speaking to one of the senior commanders, so he had mentioned that both are totally different. The way the Northeast, the militancy there and what we see in Kashmir, they are two different ball game. So, what according to you would be the root cause in the Kashmir, the militancy which started in Kashmir, sir, 90s and early 90s and.
So let me talk of both. I will talk about the differences, and I will also say there are some similarities in how we need to approach it, right?
Right, sir.
So the differences are, see, Northeast is a very, very diverse community, many tribes, different ethnicities. And while that makes for a sort of a very rich culture, there is also a degree of suspicion among various communities, among tribal communities. I mean, you see that today, dwelling out with money for the
True, sir.
so concern of whether one tribal community will become more dominant. We need to protect our own identities, and which is why you find a majority of the tribes picking up a weapon to sort of, we need to protect our identity. It should not get stormed. And so a lot of the conflict you see is among people. So it's not so much tribal groupings versus the army, for example, but one tribe sort of versus the other tribe. That is the sort of character of conflict that is there in the Northeast. In Jammu and Kashmir, I would say there are two root causes, one external, one internal. The external is the fact that Pakistan has been aiding, abetting terrorism, sending in infiltrators, providing them funds, and trying to keep this violence sort of alive in Jammu and Kashmir. That's one factor. The other factor is internal also. Everything is not, we cannot say that everything that's happening in Kashmir is because of Pakistan. There is a section of people in the Kashmir Valley who feel, rightly or wrongly, that the central government has not done enough for us, or is trying to, make policies. They will resettle outsiders coming into Kashmir, etc. Now that sort of concerns, as I said, whether they are right or wrong, the fact is that they exist. And because of that, you have, local sort of protesting, or in some cases also picking up weapons against the state. When I said there is also some commonality, I think the approaches to dealing with conflicts which are internal within the country, the approaches are common. So terrorists, insurgents, undergrounds, whatever you call them, they have to be put down strongly. And that's the job of the security forces to do that. That we need to make sure that, they cannot vitiate the atmosphere in the state. At the same time, whether it is the Northeast or it is Jammu and Kashmir, I think the overall approach has to be people-centric. I mean, when you're looking for solutions, you have to find ways in which you can satisfy and meet the aspirations of the people and get them towards the government. So I think that's the broad approach that we need to take in both cases. And that approach, to me, I think will be what will be successful.
Right, sir. But you know, when you were there, sir, and when we talk about early 90s and say till about 99, 2000, the scenarios were totally different, sir. Wherein you know, the general public there was totally against India as a country. They themselves used to say that we are not part of that country. And then if you see today, sir, today the scenarios are different. We can see our national flag flying and things. So for you as an individual at various ranks when you were posted there, sir, how tough it was, sir? Because it is definitely not easy. Few of my counterparts who were in Marine Commandos, sir, when they were posted at Bula,
Mm.
they would tell about the difficulties in you know the mindset of people, the approach. So how difficult for you was it, you know, to be the helm being there?
So it's a big challenge, yeah. As you said, you know, there was this the section of people in Kashmir. So when we look at Jammu and Kashmir, obviously the people of Jammu and Ladakh are completely different and have different sort of ideas. Uh, it's people from the Kashmir Valley largely who had this, as you said, who had this feeling that you know, we have a special status. We are not really sort of integral part of the country, and some of it was obviously because of Article 370. Uh, and so it was a challenge to appeal to these people. It was a challenge to get these people around, uh, which is why I think a number of projects, you know, under what we call operational sadbhavna, slowly over a period of time were brought in, uh, which were to help these people with healthcare, medicines, to oh, large number of education projects, large number of schools were opened up. So I think slowly the idea was to show them that people here are only to help you out and are not here, you know, to do anything wrong with you. And you are seeing today, I think, over a period of time, violence levels have been controlled. You mentioned yourself that you know, you see the national flag flying in Lal Chowk. Article 370 was abrogated, which I personally think was a correct step, because you can't have two different constitutions in a country. And so, you know, there was a need to bring in a common constitution and to tell the people that, look, you are a part of India just as much as anybody else. And so those steps that have been taken have to a large extent at least quelled the violence. Vijay, I think what we now need to do, if you ask me frankly, is we need to tell them the fruits of integration with India. Look, Article 370 is gone. Now we will bring in development. We will bring in jobs for you. We will make sure that, you know, you fully integrate as an Indian national with other people. That's where the effort is, and I think that's where the effort today is being made. And while you may not see, should I say, an immediate 100% turnaround, I mean, uh, it's not very easy to change ideologies that have got cemented over 20, 30 years. You see, a majority of the population, about 60, I think, 65% is under 35 today. And so the conflict also in Kashmir is about 35 years old. So this is a generation that has grown up, you know, with this backdrop. So slowly, I think they will come around. There are a number of schemes and development measures that are being taken. So I think slowly we need to go ahead, and I'm confident you will find much better integration with, of Jammu Kashmir with India in the next few years.
Very true, sir. Very true. As you rightly said, the 60% of population is under 35. And they are the generation which actually saw things day in and day out. So probably like what today we see Kashmir, you know, it's a different Kashmir which we saw 10 years back. So I'm sure, sir, going forward, they would integrate and probably we will have a much, as we used to say, pehle ki jannat thi karke, where people used to go. I'm sure that day is not so far, sir. Not so far, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, I think the people of Kashmir who used to keep talking about Pakistan are seeing what sort of mess that country is in today. So I don't think they see that as a role model anymore.
Way too, sir. So again, since you had mentioned that, sir, so seeing the current dynamics in Pakistan, sir, the way Pakistan is going, there is yesterday I was reading there is a talk of Pakistan being splitting into few, separate states and so many other articles. So how do you, being as a leader and being, having a close watch on all this situation, how do you, what's your view on the threat which Pakistan would be posing to us? Uh,
So, Vijay, as you mentioned, today I think Pakistan is facing multiple crises, and I think all of these haven't come together at the same time in its past history. So there is an economic crisis, and you see the real mess. They are in the inflation, the fact that uh, they've literally run dry of foreign exchange to pay for their imports. There is a political crisis, particularly after May 9th, when former Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested and uh, violence broke out. After that, PTI leaders have been jailed, and a lot of them have left the party. The ruling coalition doesn't really have popular support. Use whatever you might say about Imran Khan, the fact is today he has extreme popular support. You are seeing for the first time people turning against the army. I mean, I have never seen this happen. But if the GHQ can get raided, the Lahore Court Commander's house can get raided. Uh, there is also a constitutional crisis, which is brewing between the political leadership and the Chief Justice. You have it. And then you have an internal security crisis. The Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan is really active on the border. The Baluch Liberation Army is very active in Balochistan, and in fact has increased its attacks. So Pakistan today really internally is in huge amounts of problems. Will it split up or not? I don't know. I don't want to sort of speculate. I think what we need to be careful about is, despite all this, I think we are not seeing any change of attitude in Pakistan with regard to India. So they keep harping on Kashmir. There is still some support being given to terrorist activities. You are seeing terrorist infiltration. In fact, in the last 1 week, there have been 3 infiltration attempts that have been foiled. So I think till the time that Pakistan continues to see India as an existential threat to us, we need to also be careful. And we just can't take our eye off our western borders and say, look, Pakistan is in such a mess that they will not do anything. I think they still retain that capability for some mischief or the other. Will this attitude change going forward? Will Pakistan establishment and army say, look, I think we have talked about this India bogey for a long time. It hasn't helped us. We need to internally look at how to sort out problems which are within the country. The fact that normalization of relations with India will actually only help Pakistan, particularly in terms of economy and trade and things like that. Whether such a realization will dawn on Pakistan army, I'm not sure at this stage. So as I said, we can't take our eye off the ball just yet.
Very true, sir. So, they have been doing this from so many years, the infiltration and, planting the terror, the brainwashing of the local youth and pumping in the foreign militants, that is the Afghan militants or, all those, the Pakistani militants itself. And throughout so many years, decades, couple of decades, we have been losing so many soldiers, both from all the cadres. So when you think of a common man, sir, we had donned uniform, we understand the intricacies. When we see the general opinion of a common man, a news channel, or things like that, so every time something happens or we lose someone, so there is a general hue and cry that we should ठोक देना है करके go inside and kill them and come back. So when this happened in 2016, sir, when you were at the helm at the North, uh, so how is this term surgical strike coined, sir? Because when we woke up the next day, let me tell you, as a veteran then, outside, it was something nobody could believe, when the news channels were playing. And you were at that, you were the man who was doing, taking that decision, of course, from the higher ups, from the army and the government. So how was that term coined? The next day we could hear surgical strike, and that was something everyone caught it, sir. So how was
So frankly, frankly, the credit for this term goes to the army headquarters. I mean, when they were preparing the press release for informing, so it had been decided that we will inform the world that we have done this. So when the army headquarters was forming, the press release, and so they're looking for how to describe an operation that was very precise, very focused, no collateral damage, directed only against specific targets of terrorist camps. I think they were the ones that came up, that we've carried out this very, very surgical strike, hitting the targets that we wanted to, very precisely, without any casualties on our side, and that we've been able to come back. So, and this, as you said, this term has now stuck and become sort of very famous.
even today, anything happens, the common public will always say, "और एक surgical strike हो जाएगा, ज़्यादा."
Exactly. Yeah.
So how difficult, I may not ask the questions which you would not like to answer, sir, but being at that position, you would have always been at the edge of the seat when the boys went in and when they came out. How as a person it was difficult or easy for you, sir?
So let me not use the term difficult. Let me say what we planned was a very complex and sort of challenging operation. So we had decided, and it's no secret anymore. We had decided that we will carry out multiple strikes on the same night. Multiple strikes across the Jammu region, also across the Kashmir region. So in fact, the spread of the targets was about 250 kilometers, and we had to do 5 operations on the same night. And obviously, because targets were at different distances, the terrain was different. The timings of each strike were different. So, like the first target was hit at about midnight. The last target was hit at 6 a.m. in the morning, 6 hours later. And obviously, all these camps, the launch pads that we hit were behind Pakistani defenses, and so we had to cross the forward defenses of Pakistan Army, hit the targets, and then once they had been hit, and obviously some warning would have gone to Pakistan Army that something had happened behind us. We had to again cross back these forward lines and come on our own side of the line of control. So it was a fairly sort of complex operation, but I think the good thing was that we had been planning for it for quite some time. In fact, for almost a year, we had been gathering information about these targets. We had pulled out the special forces from their counterinsurgency role, and we had trained them specifically for cross-border operations. Otherwise, most of them are deployed within Kashmir or within Jammu for counterinsurgency, counter-terrorist duties. And frankly, the officers and men were really, really confident about, yes, we are prepared, we have all the information, we can go ahead and do it. So yes, that concern is always there. And that night, obviously, uh, we were concerned about the fact that everyone should come back safely. But I think there was also this quiet confidence within us that, look, we have prepared well, we have trained well, we have all the information that we need, so we should be able to pull it off. And that's what these guys did. Outstanding job.
Very true, sir. Very true. But wherein, like, as we say, sir, the information warfare, what we see today, and those days also, sir, 16 also was not very far. So was there a challenge always, sir, to keep this as a very secretive thing and not many people should know? Because, once something is known, it becomes much difficult. So how difficult or easy was it to keep it as a, thing which world should know only on the next day, like when we all
Yeah,
came.
so so that was a big challenge, making sure that only a very small group in my own headquarters knew that this is what is happening. I used to fly out, for example, in the morning from my headquarters, go to the military operations directorate, carry out a briefing, and then very quickly fly back to the headquarters. Try and keep even that a secret that you know uh, the army commander has gone to Delhi and is meeting somebody. So it was a very small group. Uh, as you know, every military operation has a code name, right? But in our case, we decided not to give it a code name also, that this code name will get bandied about, and then somebody will ask, what is this? What is this operation that you people are doing? It was also a challenge because there was a lot of criticism coming from the media
Very true, sir.
and from the strategic community, that what have you guys done, and you can't really protect your own garrison, so many soldiers have died, what are you going to do? Are you planning something? Are you doing something? Or just going to sit back on your haunches and do nothing and just keep quiet about it as it happened in the past? So it is also a challenge to just uh, take that all to yourself and just say, look, just don't respond at all to this. The answer will come in 10 days. So it was a bit of a challenge.
Very true, sir. And probably that the surgical strike, as we may call it today, sir, like people like us would call it today, that actually showed our prowess, like what we can do, like as a army or navy or air force. If we plan something, we plan and we will deliver. But there were a lot of both positive inputs and what I would say is positive criticism and negative criticism. So there was a section of people saying that it didn't happen. It was only, to show that some things have been done and it was more planted. So how did you feel looking back and sitting back and taking this criticism, sir? I'm sure you would have smiled and laughed at what people are saying.
Yeah. So, Bijay, largely, actually, the reaction was positive.
Very true.
Uh, to be honest, I mean, it was a very positive reaction from everybody, uh, even amongst our serving community. We were getting calls from people saying, "Wow, what a great thing you've done," and this, that, and the other, and some retribution has been carried out against what happened to our soldiers. There were some questions, as you said, they were asked, but was it really done? How many people were killed? Are you just trying to, make this up or something? Um, Really, it didn't impact us. Yeah, we knew what we had done. There was no doubt in our mind as to exactly what has happened, what went down on that night. So yes, sometimes you feel it's slightly bad that why are people sort of doubting what their own army has done. But really, most of it we sort of shrugged aside and said, yeah, it's okay. These people are ignorant, and in anything, you will have some pessimists. Yeah, anything that you do.
True, sir. Sir, a big salute to all of you, sir, who was there because, we being in the uniform, coming out of the armed forces, and we know how aggressive we all were, sir. The community itself, irrespective of army, navy, air force, that was something. all of us were so proud of, for our officers, for our men, for the government who took that, challenge of doing that, and to the team who executed, sir. And
Absolutely.
who else?
If you ask me who are the real heroes, it's those team boys. Yeah, I mean, you know how it is.
Very true, sir.
They really put their lives on line. Success or failure actually hung on their shoulders. I mean, if they did well, we would succeed. If they didn't, then we would have had to face a lot of criticism. So somebody asked me who are the real heroes? The guys who went across the line of control. Simple. I mean, there are no two questions about that.
Right, sir. So lot of movies and series thereafter. One movie Uri, which is what is motivating the younger generation, sir. Like when we were to join the armed forces, for us, for me personally, it was a serial called Fauji, sir, where Shah Rukh Khan was.
Yeah,
That was my generation, which got. So Uri is motivating a lot of youngsters, sir, and you all are the reason for that, sir. That I must totally compliment the entire segment of all those those who were involved, sir. So that's from all of us to you and the team, sir. So my next question would be on a slight, the chunk of hard questions have been done. One more question in this segment for the geopolitical is that how do we feel? We have seen the Galwan and the Chinese right from 1962 and before and thereafter. How do you feel China would be a threat to us in the coming future, sir? I mean, a lot of things have been spoken on that, but what's your view on that, sir?
So I think as we look ahead, Bijay, our biggest strategic challenge is China. I'm not using the word threat because we don't know whether the strategic challenge really translates into, conflict or battle or not. But it's definitely our most largest strategic challenger. And I say that for 2-3 reasons. Look, it has a very strong military. It's rapidly modernizing its military. We have an unsettled border with China. And most importantly, I think what we saw in 2020 was that China is willing to use military force to coerce or pressurize India. I mean, the way they brought in their troops into Eastern Ladakh, the violence that followed, obviously it was well planned and planned to. What is the idea? The idea is obviously that we are going to put pressure on the Indian government. We are going to try and tell them that, look, we are the big power. And as we look at, say, the geopolitical aspect, and if you look at Asia, what is China doing? It's trying to become and tell everyone that, look, we are the primary military power in the region. And that everybody must sort of accept our hegemony in Asia. They are competing with the US that we need to become a great power. You are increasingly seeing their presence in the Indian Ocean, which India considers as somewhat is that today we are the primary sort of naval power in the Indian Ocean, and that in the future is going to be challenged by China. You are aware it's the fastest growing navy in the world. It's the largest navy in terms of battleships today. And you will see increasing presence that is going to happen in the Indian Ocean. And so I think when we look at the future, China will look at India and say, look, for us to become, the hegemons in Asia, the only country that can challenge us is India.
Yes, sir.
Which is why they are attempting, I mean, they have these close relations with Pakistan. They're trying to get inroads into all your neighbors in South Asia. And so India is up for a strategic challenge. And I think it needs to understand that. And I think that understanding has come today, Joy, that In the past, we were possibly too focused on Pakistan, and now we need to turn our attention to India. No, sorry, we need to turn our attention to China.
Very true, sir. Very true. And where do you see India in the next 5 to 10 years, sir? Because across in the corporate sector for us and wherever we go, everyone says that India is the new growth story, and the next 10 years,
Absolutely, it is.
India is what the world will look at. So what's your feeling on that, sir?
Yeah, look, I'm hugely sort of optimistic about India's rise, and it's based on facts. I mean, today, if you look at the way the economy is growing, even post pandemic, and how we have recovered, the fact is also that a lot of countries are looking at India as a new sort of manufacturing hub. So some semiconductors are coming in now to be produced in India. Apple has started this production in India, and I think this will only grow as countries look to diversify their sort of supply chains. India is sort of well poised, to take advantage of this. So, also, I think if you look, India's diplomatic heft across the globe is growing. You see the kind of reception that the Prime Minister got in the US. The fact that what we call the global South looks at India as a country that can, give voice to their problems. India is being wooed by the US, by Russia, by various countries, improving relations with the Middle East, etc. So I think even our diplomatic sort of heft has increased. So politically, diplomatically, economically, if you are growing, then obviously there is great optimism about India. If I could just interject one word of caution, and that is, look, we have such a demographic dividend that is going to last us till 2050. The youthful population that we have, and that's something that really we could exploit. But to do that, we need to make sure the education of these people, sufficient jobs, generating employment. How are we going to utilize this potential is something that we need to start thinking very, very carefully. Particularly, you're talking about how future technology, the fourth industrial revolution, etc., as people are calling it, is going to disrupt workforces. It's going to disrupt employment. So, are we doing enough to teach our people, upskilling them, to be able to utilize this technology? To be able to actually, make this whole India growth story real. So that's something that I think we need to be careful about, because if we don't handle this very large mass of youth properly, then they could just swing in another direction.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much, sir, for this entire segment. And the last few questions, this is more of a personal, fun fact question, sir. If you would not have been in army, sir, I'm sure there would not have been any choice you were, since you come from a legacy, you come from a family, generations in the army, your brother in the. What would have been the other choice, sir, if not army?
I don't know, maybe Navy, yeah, Bijay. Really, really, you put on a uniform at 16 and take it off at 60. It's literally like your second skin, right? So you can't really think of anything else. So as I said, if not the army, then probably Bijay, I would have been your senior
Yes, sir,
in the Navy.
I mean, just one more question here. Who were your batchmates in the Navy, sir? Any?
So So my batchmates in the Navy was Chima.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
SPS.
Chima.
Yeah.
Yeah, SPS Chima. He was there. Then there was one Rear Admiral Pandit.
Yes, sir. Pandit, sir.
Who was in the SFC. Then there was PV Van Haltren.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I think he was a defense attaché to some country. Then there was one Naik, Vikram Naik, who actually left the army. He was a deep sea diver. Left the army after about 10 years, I think, and is now a very successful, should I say, shipping tycoon. Has
Oh,
his own shipping company. He designs his own ships.
okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, interesting people I had in the as Ghostman.
Amazing, sir. And then, how's life last 7 years, sir? Being a veteran now, and then seeing 7 years, and then seeing now the army from a different perspective and a different eyes. Sir. How's that
See,
been?
you always see the fact is you always miss active army life because I mean that was all that you 40, 45 years is all that you did. So you obviously miss it. But I think uh, after retirement, it's been good because you can utilize your professional skills, your knowledge. Uh, I've been doing a lot of writing. I've been doing a lot of speaking, going around various places. I'm associated with two think tanks, so I'm with the Delhi Policy Group. I've also co-founded a think tank called Council for Strategic and Defense Research, which is based at New Delhi. So I have sort of kept myself reasonably busy, not too busy, so there is enough time, for you to take out for your family, etc. But reasonably busy that you are not feeling, oh my God, I've got nothing to do. So it isn't like that.
And what are your children doing, sir? Anyone in the forces, sir?
No, no. So my son is, he's with a startup in Gurgaon.
Sir,
He's a graduate of I am Indore
sir.
and also Kellogg's University in Chicago. But he decided to do his own thing after working for almost 10, 15 years at HSBC Bank. And my daughter is in New York. She works for the United Nations.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was last almost 56 minutes. I mean, close to 1 hour, sir. And personally, sir, just to let you know now, a big fan of you, sir. I have been watching your videos, and thanks to Pranay, my colleague who handles this.
This yeah. So I read in Sivaru's book that the four parasf officer who basically went on across the border. He mentioned that he didn't after getting this hit and successful operation, he didn't even get a chance to eat and sleep properly because he was so busy in partying. And in the last moment when he met you also, you also took him to the bar or something. So how was the celebration, sir? How was the celebration? I just
Celebration
wanted
is
to
good, yeah. So when these people all got back safely, and frankly, that was our sort of concern. So obviously, immediately we couldn't bring all the teams together, officers and men all together because, as I told you, they were spread out almost over 250 kilometers where they were. So I said, at least let's fly in the officers. So in helicopters, we flew in all the officers, and of course, the first place we met was at the bar, and we celebrated well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, and a lot of learning, sir, personally.
Yes.
And as I said, a big fan of you, sir. You
Thanks,
must
Bijay. Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you. I don't know how the 1 hour is sort of so quickly passed.
exactly, sir. Exactly. 1 hour 10 minutes, rather.
So